Now that I have the whole background covered, I can begin doing the details of the face. So what I'm going to start with are my eyes. Now to help me make my eyes, I can follow the steps that I have here. The first step I notice is just this white sort of semicircle. So I can paint a rainbow shape, connect it across the bottom, and then fill it in white. So let me just turn this sort of here so you can keep it where you can see it. And I'm going to use my detail brush. Make sure it's a little bit dry here. Dip it in my white paint. Remember, only the bristles should be wet with paint. And then when I put my eyes on here, I want to make sure that it's halfway down the face. If it's not halfway, if I put it up too high, then it looks really strange. So I'm going to make my rainbow shape right about the middle. So right about where I have my ears here. So from right here, I'm going to make it to about here because I don't want it to be too small. Then I'm going to sort of connect it like this. If you notice, my rainbow doesn't come up too high. It's a little bit shallow. And before I do anything else, I might want to make the same exact, or take the same exact steps right here. All right, they look pretty similar. And then all I have to do is sort of connect it on the bottom like this to create the shape I'm looking for. If my eyes are a little bit wider, I can make it come down just a little bit more if I want. And I've got the first step of my eyes done. All right. Now, if I look at my steps, my next step would be to add the iris, the colored part of the eye. But my paint's still pretty wet, so I'm actually going to skip that and let it dry for a little bit. So while it's drying, I can go ahead and look at the next feature of my face. I can make my nose. Now we have another poster, which is going to show us lots of different nose shapes that we can use. I really like this bottom one, so I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to move this down a little bit so we can see both, hopefully right there. And I'm going to follow these steps to make my nose here. I'm going to be using a brown for that. So I'm cleaning off my brush and then I'm wiping it on the side. I'm not tapping because I don't want that water to go everywhere. And I'm going to use a brown to create my nose shape. Now my nose, I know, should be halfway between my eyes and my chin. So I know I have my chin right here. So about here would be halfway. That little teeny tiny dot is. And I'm going to follow these steps right here. So the very first thing I'm going to do is sort of do this little small U shape that comes up like this. All right. My next step is to do these two little sort of, I don't know, dots on the side of the nose. That's actually where the whole of your nose would go, or the holes. Okay. My next step is to do this little C shape. It kind of looks like a tall C. And I'm going to start underneath that hole. Actually, I'll start right here and it's going to go along like this. Then I'm just going to do the same thing on the other side. And then I add these two lines for the bridge of my nose. Mine's not quite that skinny from the picture. Mine's a little bit like this. All right, and that's looking pretty good. I'm going to clean off my brush. I'm going to look at my eyes. My eyes look like they're okay to add my next detail, so I think I may go ahead and add this next part. So I put this here, and we'll be able to see both. So I'm going to clean my brush, wipe it on the side so that it doesn't go everywhere. And then my eyes are really dark brown, so I'm going to be using the dark brown for this. And I'm going to make a circle inside the white part. Ooh, it's a little bit wet. It's going to come down and almost touch the bottom here. It's a little bit too wet, so I need to wipe my brush there a little bit. Okay. And it's okay if it's not perfect. I can always go back over it again when it dries. So there we go. Then I'm going to do the other eye too. And try to make the same size circle inside. It's pretty similar. If I notice that one's getting a little bit too large, I can always adjust a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to keep them there. Now I can't really do the next step to add that little black pupil in the middle because it's still very wet. And when it's wet, I can't really mix the colors. So I'm going to continue and do my lips while my eyes are drying with that step. So I clean off my brush. And I'm going to create my lip color. If I look at the colors I have here, that red's way too bright. So I'm going to take a little bit of red and put it to the side, like this. Then I'm going to add a little bit of white to it to make it sort of pinkish, mixing towards the middle here. Maybe use a little bit more. And I'm also going to add a little bit of brown to it because my lips are a little bit darker than that. And this is starting to look like a better color. I'll add a little bit more. There we go. So that's probably closer to my lip color. And for this, there are many other shapes that I can use. So I could just do a line if that's easiest for me. I could do a line with a lower lip. I could make it open, or open with sort of the teeth and the tongue there. But I think for mine, I'm going to do these lips down here. So let's see if we can have them both up here. Now for my lips, let me move this down just a little bit more. For my lips, they need to be about halfway between my nose and my chin. So if you can't see your chin, you might want to go back over that line. So let me actually do that because some of you might need to do that since you did yours in pencil. So I'm just going to go back over my chin line here. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and do my lips. So if I'm doing this one, halfway between my nose and my chin, I'm just going to have this sort of smile shape. And then my next part is that I start going across. I start almost connecting it from this side to the other side, but I stop close to the middle. Then I do a little V in the middle. So I do a V here, and then I continue to the other side, like this. Then the bottom, all I'm going to do is add one more line to do the bottom part of my lips. Now, if I don't want to lose that shape, then I'm not going to color over those lines. Instead, I'm going to maybe lighten my lip color up a little bit by adding a tiny bit of white to it. And then I'm just going to try to color neatly inside those lines. Like that. And I'm being very careful not to go outside of those lines. And something that helps with that is holding my pencil straight up and down. The last thing I could do if I wanted to is put some shine marks on it with a teeny tiny bit of white along the bottom, like this. Okay, and then I'm going to leave it here for now since the eyes are a little bit wet, and we'll come back to it when it dries.